Garrett Crochet continues to dominate with the Boston Red Sox. Could the Cy Young talk already be starting?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And want to know the best part? It's free. So you might as well continue to tune in because Locked On is your team every day. And to make you even more excited, we're getting closer and closer to opening day, and I can actually feel it now. Weather is starting to get a little bit warmer, and on top of all of that, daylight savings is this weekend, so be sure to turn your clocks forward an hour. Don't forget to do that. But what does that mean? Sunlight for longer portions of the day, and it won't feel like 9 o'clock at 4 p.m. because it will no longer be getting dark at 4. It'll be getting dark at a lot better of a time, so we'll definitely get more of that sunlight. And sunlight to me means baseball season, and I'm super excited about that, especially because of a guy named Garrett Crochet, who the Red Sox have been so vocally adamant about being a guy who can be that number one starting pitcher for them. So I'm going to be discussing him on today's show, as well as talking about Wilyer Abreu because he did provide a positive update on Wednesday, and also a minor league signing that the Red Sox did to help enhance the depth from a pitching standpoint. But when you think about Garrett Crochet and all the hype that he's gotten since coming to Boston, it is 100% and completely warranted. I mean, he showed a really strong ability to be able to throw a lot of different pitches well when he was playing with the White Sox. And then when the Red Sox initiated that trade, they gave up some good prospects for him. And that's just the nature of the game. You have to give to get in this league. And the price that they paid of prospects is certainly not exactly ideal in terms of the excitement level surrounding some of those prospects like Kyle Teal and Brandon Montgomery, both guys who had a lot of hype coming into the Red Sox organization. But it'll be worth it if Garrett Crochet turns out to be the ace that the Red Sox think that he can be. And for a while, the Red Sox haven't had that number one starting pitcher. They've been craving it for years now, and that always felt like it was a missing piece to the puzzle for Boston, was they had some good starters on the team, but not a true number one starter for a long time. So now they're in a position where they have this pitcher who has experienced some injury, but has also shown a lot of dominance when he's actually been on the mound. And they have him in hopes that they can work out an extension with him. That's definitely a must do if they want to feel like they really got what they could out of this trade. He's a guy who they should prioritize extending sooner rather than later, but they definitely want to see him pitch during the regular season a little bit first before they extend him, just to make sure that he's durable enough to be out there. But he certainly showed off some of that strength and durability in the Red Sox spring training game on Wednesday against the Tampa Bay Rays when they won 4-2. So he started and he threw 3 innings and giving up 2 hits, but 0 runs, walked 1, but struck out 7. So what a performance for him, just generating tons of swings and misses by Ray's hitter in those first 3 innings of the game. And then he was relieved by a bunch of relievers who each pitched an inning in Aroldis Chapman, Liam Hendricks, Justin Wilson, Brennan Bernardino, Greg Weisser, and another pitcher who is more of a minor league guy now in Wyatt Mills. He has had his struggles and has dealt with injuries in Boston, but he was able to get into the game as well. So lots of guys who got some reps out there. But Garrett Crochet looked completely dominant in the 3 innings that he pitched. And that's really promising for a guy who is being called upon basically to pitch at the top of the rotation for this Red Sox team. And with a guy like Crochet, you want these types of performances to continue. And it's really encouraging because the Red Sox didn't always generate tons of strikeouts in 2024. So bringing in a guy in 2025 who's known for that can be a huge difference in the rotation. And not to mention that his performance on Wednesday was highlighted by a top speed of 101 miles an hour. I mean, that's ridiculously difficult to hit. And he's already shown continued improvement even just since joining the team in December. Although spring training is still early on, he has accumulated 14 strikeouts over 6.1 scoreless innings in total so far, raising expectations for his role as the potential opening day starter. I did have a conversation on this show recently about who could potentially be the opening day starter. And now keep in mind, the last few years, the opening day starter for the Red Sox didn't necessarily end up being the guy who was the best and most consistent starter throughout the year, but that's because they didn't have an obvious choice. Now this feels like they have an obvious choice. You always want to roll out your top guy on opening day to really set the tone for the season. And the more that he pitches well, the more he's making a case to be that guy. Elsewhere in the 4-2 victory, the Red Sox got strong hitting performances from players like Masataka Yoshida and prospect Trace Thompson, who I talked about briefly on the show recently. He's been able to put together some impressive at-bats over the course of this Grapefruit League schedule so far. And Yoshida, I mean, if we can continue to get that kind of productivity from him, that's going to be great. But Garrett Crochet, for a second, if you put this into perspective, it's a short sample size, so we have to see what he can do over the course of a full season when he's pitching a lot more, because he was on an innings restriction last year and the Red Sox aren't planning on giving that to him. So hopefully he doesn't find himself being worn out and that he's able to get through the length that the Red Sox are hoping to get from his starts. Because if he can pitch 6 or 7 innings a start and be dominant, I mean, that's the recipe for being an ace. So it's just really exciting because you add a guy like Crochet into the rotation and it already strengthens the overall ability level of the rotation as a whole. You see his name there and you say, okay, he's going to be a guy who can be really dangerous. And he could be in early Cy Young talks as soon as the season starts, because if you strike out a lot of guys, that gives you a high chance of being in those Cy Young conversations. And if he can consistently pitch the way that he has in his first couple spring training starts, there's no doubt that he could be in that conversation. With his fastball getting up to 101 miles an hour, that's also a sign that the velocity is there for him to be among the top starters in the league heading into this upcoming season. And he certainly has a good head on his shoulders in terms of what he wants to accomplish. Now, he has already expressed that he is interested in an extension with the Red Sox. And the Red Sox, I have no doubt, are also interested in it as well. And I'm sure talks will pick up as time progresses throughout the course of the season. But his most asked about question over the course of coming to the Red Sox has been thoughts on that possible contract extension. And there have been very few definitive answers available when it comes to that, but he did want to offer some insight into the contract extension thought process that led him to this point, which is a subject he was more than happy to clarify with everybody. Essentially, his contract chaos from last year, when he basically said that he wanted to sign an extension with the White Sox and then things just started to go south. That all started once it became clear that the plan for him to evolve into a top of the rotation starting pitcher after years of relieving was the profitable path for both him and the White Sox. And it didn't take long for the buzz regarding a possible contract extension to start percolating. So he said front offices and agents, they have these different models that they look at to perceive value. So it was just a discussion of the trajectory of my career, where I am going right now based on what these analytics say. And it was like, we think you're going to be really good kind of thing, because I was progressing in my career. And then it was also like, we're also going to try and trade you. The thought came up where it was like, would I want to spend the rest of my career in Chicago, or the flip side of the coin, go somewhere I could go and win right away? That's why Boston was such an attractive option. It wasn't really an option because I had no say, but when it actually went down, I was really fired up because it's a place you want to spend your entire career and you can win right away. It's kind of the best of everything. while his wishes ultimately came true this past offseason, he had been left with weeks of uncertainty heading into last season's trade deadline, not being sure if the White Sox were going to trade him then, but also coming to the conclusion that, okay, I might be better off not staying here if I want to win because this organization is not in a place to win right now. He informed the White Sox that he wanted a contract extension from whatever team might trade for him in order to be available for any postseason appearances. So that basically immediately limited Chicago's potential trade partners because teams weren't sure if they would want to extend him right away, while putting him in the crosshairs of some angry White Sox fans. He said, when it came out, a lot of people were looking as greedy. I didn't by no means feel like I was demanding a trade because I wanted money or security by itself. It was more so in the fact that I was establishing myself as a starter and kind of getting away from the idea that teams viewed me as a potential high-end reliever. I was having a good year and I was staying healthy for the first time in my career. In 2020, flexor strain. In 21, I had the back thing. Then I blow out. Then coming back from Tommy John, there were complications there. Now I'm starting on a set routine and I'm feeling good every fifth day and I'm able to go out and perform. Why should I jeopardize that for a team I don't really owe anything to? That was the weird part. A lot of people were sending me hate stuff on Instagram and I was like, I don't owe a team. I'm not on anything. For me, that was the way to protect myself. So basically, he was getting a lot of heat from people when it came to the fact that he was saying, I want to sign an extension with whoever trades for me because I see my value as a starting pitcher. And some people did not take that very well. So he also added, when talking about all of this, he said, I worked to put myself in that position. That's all I really have to add. I'm finally healthy. What about a team that is making a playoff push and has no intention of extending me, or a hypothetically team that has a good, strong farm system enough to get the job done? The White Sox were obviously hunting position players, so this team gets to keep all their power arms waiting in the wings. If I go down on this playoff push, well, now I'm just by the wayside. I haven't had a full season as a starter. That would be my 5th injury since debuting. What happens to my career now? Crochet has 2 more seasons left before becoming eligible for free agency. So the Red Sox do have time to work out an extension with him, but I'm hoping that they don't wait too long to do so. He has already openly said he'd love to sign an extension with Boston because he sees their path for winning. But essentially, the drama with the White Sox started when he had expressed originally that he wanted to sign an extension. And then when they mentioned trading him, he then said, okay, well, I want to get traded and sign an extension with whoever trades for me, because if I'm going to go through all of this, I want to go to a winning team. So can't fault the guy for wanting to win. And the Red Sox can be a team where he does just that. And can he win a Cy Young in 2025? It's definitely possible, but we'll have to see how things go there. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about Wilyer Abreu, who did provide an update on Wednesday that's positive to hear. Don't forget that Locked On Red Sox is available on any podcast platform, including YouTube. So you can tune in Monday through Friday, as I will have all new episodes all of those days for you to stay caught up in all things going on with the Boston Red Sox. So I will be here for you throughout the course of the season, hopefully a fun season for the Red Sox, and you can join in on the fun with me right here on this show. And if you're looking for another Locked On show to listen to, fantasy baseball drafts are coming up. So you can next tune in to Locked On Fantasy Baseball with hosts Dominic Martino and Matthew One. MLB fantasy draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a great show. This network is great. So you can find that wherever you get your podcast right after you finish this. The Red Sox outfield situation has been a huge topic of discussion throughout the course of this offseason, just because of the fact that they have a crowded outfield situation heading into this season. That just is what it is. They have guys who are very good out there, and they have Roman Anthony, a prospect, waiting in the rafters to eventually come up and make his debut. And they also have Christian Campbell, who plays both second base and in the outfield, but based on need for the Red Sox right now, he'll likely start in the infield when he gets called up. But the infield situation is also a little dicey right now, too. And if you tune into yesterday's episode, I talked a little bit more about Rafael Devers coming back and where he's going to play and how that's going to impact the second base situation. So the Red Sox have an outfield that right now consists of Cedar Rafaela in center field, who arguably has one of the best defensive gloves in the league. Then you have Jarren Duran in left field, who played a lot of center last year and thrived there. So I am interested in seeing him make that transition to left and if he's as effective there as he was in center. He's such a versatile player with speed, with athleticism, who can play defense and can hit well. And then you have Wilyer Abreu in right field, who is coming off of winning the Gold Glove award for his efforts defensively last year in the outfield for the Boston Red Sox. So he had a great defensive season, but he also hit well, batting .253 last year, over 399 at bats, 101 hits and 15 home runs. He scored 59 runs, drove in 58, stole 8 bases, and had an on-base percentage of .322, a slugging percentage of .459, and an OPS of .781. So he put together some very competitive numbers here for the Boston Red Sox last year. And one thing I really liked about Abreu is that he just continued to show that improvement throughout the course of the season. And that's what we like to see from rookies, is just improvement and development. And we were able to see a lot of that from him. At the beginning of the season, his batting average was pretty low, and he started off a little bit slow in those first couple games. But then when he started to click, which was about mid-April, his numbers just continue to go up and up from there offensively. And I only expect him to continue on that pattern because he just showed that ability to constantly be able to elevate his offensive performances as opposed to decreasing in terms of his efforts there. So I'm really looking forward to a season of Wilyer Abreu. But the question for him has been, is he going to be ready for opening day? Because he had been out with an illness, so he hadn't been able to play in spring training. So with games being back underway, the Red Sox were saying Wilyer Abreu's out with an injury, but then the injury became, okay, he's out with an illness. So we found out that that was actually the case there, and they weren't really giving a timeline as to when he would return. And his preparation has just been slow due to a GI issue, which is what he's actually going through here. So despite dealing with the illness, he does anticipate being ready to go on opening day. He said, yeah, I think it's going to be enough time for sure. I still have a few weeks left to get ready for opening day, and I don't see that being a problem. I think I have sufficient time. He appeared in 132 games for the team last year, and because of the fact that he played in most of the games, that definitely helped with that elevation from him and his ability to improve. But he did have a weird injury during the season where he kind of slipped on the dugout stairs and it sidelined him for a bit. I mean, you really can't make these things up. The Red Sox just had some fluke injuries last year, and he was one of those ones that had one of those injuries. But with Abreu, his name's really been in question because of the fact that he is certainly on the trading block right now, because the Red Sox at some point do need to make room for Roman Anthony in that outfield that is very crowded right now. You know they're not going to trade Cedar Rafaela because they've already extended him. They've talked extensively about how much they really value his defense. He needs to improve offensively. He still doesn't have the plate discipline to really be consistent offensively for the Red Sox heading into 2025. So I'm looking to see him be a little bit more patient at the plate as spring training progresses heading into the regular season. So I need to see more from him at the plate, but defensively, he'll definitely do his thing out there in center field. Then you have Jarren Duran, who to me is just too valuable to trade, because not only does he have the speed on the base path, so he was able to put a lot of pressure on opposing pitchers by stealing bases at a very frequent rate, but he also played really good defense and was a very strong hitter. So it'd be hard to justify trading him. So if you're going to trade somebody, it does make the most sense to trade Wilyer Abreu. You also have Rob Refsnyder, but he's a veteran who's more used as a utility player, and you definitely kind of want to keep him around because he absolutely mashes left-handed pitching. So the Red Sox put him in the lineup a lot when there's a lefty on the mound so that he can generate some offensive productivity. because the Red Sox as an overall lineup did not hit lefties well in 2024. So you kind of need him around in that regard. So Wilyer Abreu kind of seems like the odd man out in that situation that you would trade if you were to trade an outfielder. And to me, they don't feel like Roman Anthony is ready to start the season on the opening day roster. And I would have to agree with the Red Sox there. I think we just need to see a little bit more from him in AAA. So they won't jump to trade Wilyer Abreu right now, especially if he is still dealing with this GI issue. They would want to make sure he's healthy because they want to maximize the return that they get for him in a trade. Because a lot of times if you try to trade a player when they're injured, a team is a little bit hesitant, not knowing if or when they're going to be healthy. So they're unwilling to give up as much. And with how good Abreu was in 2024, you definitely want to capitalize on that and make sure that you're getting a return that's truly worth his value. So to me, they're definitely going to want to wait that out a little bit. But it's a good sign that he'll be ready for opening day, because what would have happened is if he wasn't ready to be out there come opening day, they would definitely have Refsnyder out there for a lot of the games. And then it might pressure the Red Sox to feel like they have to call up Roman Anthony sooner. And you definitely don't want to rush his development or rush him up. If you really feel like he's this super special player who's going to be part of your future in the long term, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to get him fully developed in AAA before he gets called up. So I wouldn't want the Red Sox to be backed into a wall and feel like that's their only choice. So having Abreu there come opening day is going to be really valuable for this Red Sox team. And not only that, but you are losing some offensive productivity if you don't have Abreu out there right away, because he was one of the most consistent bats in the lineup last year. And he's a guy you definitely want to go out there to have to make things happen offensively and to advance base runners and to get on base. And so they're keeping an eye on the situation still. He's being optimistic and thinks he'll have enough time and will be ready to go come opening day. Obviously, setbacks happen. So nothing's set in stone right now, and he still has a few weeks. But what worries me is that there didn't seem to be a sign of him getting into spring training action yet, or at least in the near future. And that does worry me a little bit, because if you don't get any reps during spring training, then it's going to be really tough for you to keep up opening day, because you're not going to be as sharp as a lot of the other players on the team. So what I wouldn't want to happen is for him to take a step back in terms of his career numbers in 2025 compared to 2024 because of the fact that he didn't get these spring training reps. So therefore he's not as up to speed as the rest of the team. So I'm really hoping that with this situation that it gets under wraps sooner rather than later, and that he can be cleared to at least get into some spring training games so that he can at least get himself up to speed before the season starts, because we definitely don't want to have him go out there and decline in terms of his productivity for two reasons. One, because obviously that would hurt the team because of how helpful and valuable he was in 2024. But for two, with his trade value, it would just make his trade value lower if he struggles going into this upcoming season, because not as many teams would want to trade for him because they'd be hesitant. And then the teams who are interested wouldn't want to give up this big haul of pitchers for him because of the fact that performance-wise, he isn't playing as well as he did in 2024. So I almost felt like this offseason might have been the time to trade him and then ride it out with guys like Refsnyder in the outfield and maybe Christian Campbell if he was ready before Roman Anthony gets called up, just because of how high Wilyer Abreu's value was in 2024. So hopefully he can get himself on track, get some spring training at bats, and it didn't seem too promising, but he does have high hopes for being ready for opening day. So that's at least exciting to think about if you're a Red Sox fan, because we definitely do kind of need him out there for sure if we want to have this offense be maximized as much as it can be and have the best talent out there as we possibly can have. So I'm rooting for him, hoping to continue to see positive updates in that regard so that we can be really excited about this outfield, because the Red Sox outfield has the potential to be among the absolute best in baseball heading into this upcoming season, and they just need their guys to be healthy. So I'm looking forward to that, looking forward to seeing how things progress in terms of his health and his development and how things go for him heading into the season. But coming up, I'm going to be talking about a minor league signing that the Red Sox made that'll hopefully help at least boost the depth in their minor league system. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. I love these things because they are super addicting. And not only that, but they really do make for a great snack just when you're sitting at your house watching TV and they're healthy for you. So just buy them the next time you're at the store. I promise they taste absolutely delicious. And once you purchase them one time, they're going to keep adding them to your shopping list because they are that good. So go pick up a bag maybe after you finish listening to this show. The Red Sox have made a lot of moves this offseason to try to increase and enhance their depth at the minor league level, especially in regards to pitching and also catching in a way. They're trying to address those two positions and make sure they have enough options at the minor league level. So that way, then if somebody on the major league roster were to get injured, for example, they have enough people that they can then call up to be able to pull some of that weight for the guys that they're missing. And they recently did sign former Dodgers top prospect José De León to a minor league contract. Back in August of 2021, he actually had a dream that came true when he joined the Boston Red Sox organization. He was only with the team for a few months that year, but he will now have another opportunity to try to live out one of his career ambitions with the Boston Red Sox. He's a veteran right-hander that has tried to pan out with a few different teams, and it hasn't exactly. He signed a minor league deal on Tuesday, and he actually reported the news himself when he posted an Instagram video of himself putting on a Red Sox hat, coupled with the caption, "We are back in business." So that's how people found out that he was going to be back with the Red Sox. He broke into professional baseball with the Dodgers, who selected him in the 24th round of the 2013 draft. 4 years later, the Puerto Rican pitcher was traded to Tampa Bay, where he ranked as high as the 28th best prospect in all of baseball in 2017. He has also logged stints with the Reds and also most recently the Twins. To date, De León has 34 career MLB appearances, with 7 of those being starts under his belt, and he owns a lifetime 7.44 ERA. He hasn't pitched in an MLB game since late June 2023, as he underwent Tommy John surgery that month. But the 32-year-old will be hard-pressed to carve out a role in Boston this season. The opportunity, though, for sure is in front of him. I mean, the Red Sox have added some arms this offseason that will likely end up making the roster over him, but who knows? He's determined to try to pave his way back to the majors, so maybe he'll surprise people, but those numbers are not very impressive, but hence why it's a minor league deal. The Red Sox aren't making any sort of commitment to him when it comes to their major league roster, so I think it's worth giving him a shot. I mean, he's a guy who's kind of been around. He has made his way through a few different organizations. And the problem with him has been a lot of the time consistency because of the fact that he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And this is something that the Red Sox are hoping they can maybe find a diamond in the rough on, because since he was at a time a highly regarded prospect in the sport, they're hoping maybe they could try to find something that gets him back to his earlier days of his career that kind of made him that top prospect that people were talking about. So it's kind of a low risk, high reward situation for Boston, because if he doesn't pan out oh, well, they didn't commit to him past their minor league system. But if he's pitching very well in the minors and there's nobody else down there who's giving him a run for his money, then the Red Sox could keep him in mind as a guy who could get called up if somebody gets hurt. But I am not thinking that he's a guy that we see start the opening day season on the Red Sox roster at that point. I just don't see him being a guy who the Red Sox use as a top contributor on their major league team. He just doesn't have enough competitive stats throughout his career for that. But we'll see how things go. The Red Sox have been known this offseason to make a lot of depth moves and try to improve at all levels of their system so that they have guys who for the future could be good pieces for them. So we'll see how this goes with him. He's very excited to be back in the Red Sox organization. He was a free agent technically for all of last year while he was recovering from that Tommy John surgery, but he made his comeback in November when he pitched for the Puerto Rican Winter League. Given that he hasn't set foot on a major league mound in nearly 2 years, he will likely begin the season with AAA Worcester. But despite his struggles at the big league level, his career minor league numbers are solid. He has a 3.44 ERA across 199 AAA innings over a span of 6 seasons. So I'm sure he'll pitch well with the Woo Sox, but again, you have to be able to translate that to the majors if you want to excel at that level. So the Red Sox are going to keep an eye on him for sure and hope he's somebody that they can use as a depth piece maybe down the road for the major league team. But we'll see how that goes. And I'm super excited for this Red Sox season. I think there's a lot of good vibes in the clubhouse right now, and I cannot wait to see where things go. I do always appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen of every day. As I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.